Senator Ted Cruz is our next guest. Here's what he said about election year vacancies in 2016 when Barack Obama was president.
It has been 80 years since a Supreme Court vacancy was nominated and confirmed in an election year. There is a long tradition that you don't do this in an election year.
And Senator Ted Cruz joins us now. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us this morning. You and your colleagues were pretty clear back in 2016 that an election year is a matter for the people to decide. Is it fair for people to conclude right now that you've changed your tune because the president is a Republican, not a Democrat?
Well, George, I'm happy to talk about that, but I want to start by just acknowledging the extraordinary career Justice Ginsburg had. She was a trailblazing advocate, one of the finest Supreme Court litigators to have ever lived. She served for nearly 3 decades on the court. I argued 9 times before Justice Ginsburg on the court. She was a brilliant justice. Her questions were always incisive. She was a careful lawyer, and she's led a remarkable legacy. And Heidi and I, our prayers are with her family who are grieving the loss of someone who led an extraordinary life. Now, when the vacancy occurs, that naturally leads to the question of what will happen next. And the answer in terms of what's going to happen next is we know now the president is going to make a nomination. When I called for the president to make the nomination this coming week, he's announced he's going to make the nomination this week. And I believe the right thing to do is for the Senate to take up this nomination and to confirm the nominee before Election Day. Now, on the question of precedent, look, we had this fight at the end of the Barack Obama term, and at the time, all the Democrats were saying, confirm the nominee, and all the Republicans were saying, we're not going to confirm the nominee. And so we've got a situation, you just played a quote from me in 2016. We can play that game all day long, where you can play a quote from Chuck Schumer saying, you've got to confirm the nominee.
I don't disagree with that. That's what I'm just trying to get you to concede. This is really about who has the votes and who has the power at any given time, right?
So no, actually it isn't. If you look at history, if you actually look at what the precedent is, this has happened 29 times. 29 times there has been a vacancy in a presidential election year. Now, presidents have made nominations all 29 times. That's what presidents do. If there's a vacancy, they make a nomination. What has the Senate done? And there's a big difference in the Senate with whether the Senate is of the same party of the president or a different party of the president. When the Senate has been of the same party of the president, a vacancy occurs in an election year, of the 29 times, those are 19 of them. Of those 19, the Senate has confirmed those nominees 17 times. So if the parties are the same, the Senate confirms the nominee. When the parties are different, that's happened 10 times. Merrick Garland was one of them. Of those 10, the Senate has confirmed the nominees only twice. And there's a reason for that. It's not just simply your party, my party. The reason is it's a question of checks and balances. In order for a Supreme Court nomination to go forward, you have to have the president and the Senate. In this instance, the American people voted. They elected Donald Trump. A big part of the reason they elected Donald Trump is because of the Scalia vacancy, and they wanted principled constitutionalists on the court. And a big part of the reason why we have a Republican majority elected in 2014, re-elected in 2016, grown even larger in 2018, a major issue in each of those elections is the American people voted and said, we want constitutionalist judges. And so the president was elected to do this, and the Senate was elected to confirm this nomination.
As you know, generally those picks in an election year have been consensus picks, but I do want to move on. You've made your point right there. What I want to get to now is whether you're in step with most Republicans right now in voting before the election. Senator McConnell seems to have not made up his mind on whether that's best for your majority. You're pushing him here, right?
Well, let me point out one quick thing in terms of what has been done in the past, which is when you worked in the White House, you worked for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton made 2 Supreme Court nominations, Justice Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer. You know, Stephen Breyer, when he got to the Court of Appeals, it was an even more dramatic situation than this. Jimmy Carter appointed Stephen Breyer on November 10th, 1980. So it was after the presidential election. Jimmy Carter had just lost to Ronald Reagan, and he appointed Steve Breyer anyway right after the election. And you know what the Democratic Senate did? By the way, the voters had just thrown the Democratic Senate out and said, we're going to have a Republican Senate. The Democratic Senate took it up in December and confirmed it in the lame duck. That was Bill Clinton's 2nd Supreme Court nominee. So there's a long history here. And everyone knows that if the president were Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer were the majority leader, the odds are 100%. 100%. There's no universe in which Nancy Pelosi would not have been the previous speaker saying, we are going to confirm this seat. And at the end of the day, how do you resolve those differences? Well, the American people do. And the American people did by electing a president and a Senate committed to justices who will defend free speech and religious liberty and the Second Amendment and our fundamental rights, because all of those rights are one vote away.
Do you have the votes now to have it to confirm before the election?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I believe we will. I think it is particularly important that the Senate take it up and confirm this nomination before the election, because Joe Biden has been explicit. He has said if he doesn't win, he's going to challenge this election. He's going to go to court. He's going to challenge it. He's already hired a big legal team. Hillary Clinton has told Joe Biden under no circumstances should you concede. Given that, there is a serious risk of a constitutional crisis if Joe Biden is bringing litigation like we had in Bush
Senator,
versus
I
Gore,
have
but
to
in
stop
5
you.
or 10 states.
As you know, it is President Trump who's
Yeah.
been the one talking about rigged elections. Joe Biden has not explicitly said he's going to challenge the election. Of course, they're going to have teams of lawyers, as every campaign always does, to look at irregularities.
George, true or
on
false,
any
did Hillary
ballots.
say to Joe Biden, don't concede? George, true or false, did Hillary Clinton say to Joe Biden,
I was asking
don't
you, but
concede?
you said Joe Biden explicitly said it. He hasn't said
Okay,
it.
it's
I did
true.
not challenge
It's
your
true.
statement about Senator Clinton.
Okay, so you agree Hillary said under no circumstances concede. Joe Biden has also hired a legal team headed by Supreme Court advocates. They intend to challenge this.
As has President
George,
Trump.
This is a topic, you know, 20 years ago, I was part of the legal team that litigated Bush versus Gore for George W. Bush. I was a young lawyer then. In fact, I just wrote a book that's coming out in a couple of weeks called One Vote Away: How a Single Supreme Court Seat Can Change History. And one of the chapters there talks about Bush versus Gore. It talks about the epic battle where Al Gore challenged the election results, and for 36 days, the country was held in chaos. Well, if Joe Biden does that again this year, and we have an 8-8 court, an equally divided court, 4-4, can't decide anything, that could make this presidential election drag on weeks and months and well into next year. That is an intolerable situation for the country. We need a full court on Election Day, given the very high likelihood that we're going to see litigation that goes to the court. We need a Supreme Court that can give a definitive answer for the country.
Finally, Senator, as you know, I mean, this is one of those situations where, again, Republicans and Democrats have switched sides. 4 years ago, you and your colleagues dismissed the concerns of a split court. But I do want to get to a final question from Josh Hawley, your colleague in the Senate. Put out a tweet yesterday where he said, 2 months ago, I pledged to vote only for SCOTUS nominees who understand and acknowledge that Roe was wrongly decided. I stand by that commitment. I call on my fellow Republican senators to take the same stand. Will you take that stand?
Well, I don't believe that's the right question to ask. You know, I mentioned a minute ago the book I have, One Vote Away, that's coming out in a couple of weeks. I have an entire chapter devoted to how you should make Supreme Court nominations. And I think what you should look for is a proven record. Where Republicans have gotten this wrong is where we rolled the dice. On the Democratic side, Democrats bat almost 1,000. Almost every Democratic nominee votes exactly as the Democrats want. On the Republican side, we maybe bat 500. A full half of Republican nominees end up galloping to the left and undermining the Constitution. Here's how you tell the difference. You look for a proven record of, has this individual stood up for the Constitution, defended free speech, defended religious liberty, defended the Second Amendment, and have they suffered the slings and arrows? Has the press criticized them? Has the press attacked them? And have they stood strong? If you look at the justices who stayed faithful to their oath. There are people like Antonin Scalia. There are people like Justice Thomas, people like Sam Alito, people like my old boss, Chief Justice William Rehnquist. Every one of them followed that pattern. That's what I've urged the president to nominate. And, you know, I will say one final observation. When I was clerking for Chief Justice Rehnquist, he obviously worked every day with Justice Ginsburg, and I will say he admired what a careful lawyer she was. Consistently, of the lawyers on the left, of the judges on the left, Chief Justice Rehnquist was always most willing to give an important opinion to Justice Ginsburg because she wrote narrow, careful opinions. That's important, but it's also important what the justices are doing And I believe the American people want constitutionalists. We're one vote away from seeing our religious liberty rights stripped away, from our free speech stripped away, from our Second Amendment stripped away. This election matters, and I think it is the most important issue in 2020, electing presidents and a Senate who will nominate and confirm strong constitutionalists to the court.
Senator Cruz, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.